Imagine sitting down to dinner in the early 1930s, not in a restaurant, not at a table filled with choices, but in a small kitchen where every ingredient has a story and every meal is an act of survival. The Great Depression crushed the American economy, but for Black Americans, the hardship was multiplied by segregation, poverty, and systemic exclusion from jobs, aid, and land ownership. Yet in the middle of that struggle, families cooked. They adapted. They survived. Tonight, on The Lost Taste, we are stepping back into that moment to explore 15 lost Black American dinners from the Great Depression. These were not luxury meals. They were not about indulgence. They were about stretching food, honoring every scrap, feeding children, and getting through another day. If you value food history, resilience, and real survival cooking, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and stay with us as we bring these forgotten dinners back to life. 1. Hogmaw stuffed pig. Stomach. Hogmaw was never a fancy cut, but during the Great Depression it was a powerful survival centerpiece. The pig's stomach was cheap or sometimes free from local butchers. Families cleaned it thoroughly, then stuffed it with whatever they had: diced potatoes, onions, leftover sausage scraps, and stale bread. The stuffed stomach was sewn shut and slow-roasted for hours. What came out was a massive, filling dish that could feed an entire household. Hogmaw represents the Depression mindset perfectly. Take the least desirable cut and turn it into something nourishing and communal. As industrial meat processing took over and whole animal cooking faded, hogmaw disappeared from most dinner tables. 2. Simmered neck bones and rice neck bones, whether pork or beef, were inexpensive because they were mostly bone, cartilage, and connective tissue. Black families understood that slow cooking could turn those throwaway cuts into rich, gelatinous meat. Neck bones were simmered for hours with onion, salt, and pepper until the meat fell apart. The resulting gravy was poured over plain rice, which acted as a filler and calorie extender. This dinner was cheap, deeply satisfying, and nutritionally dense. As meat prices dropped and boneless cuts became standard, neck bones lost their place as a weekly dinner staple. 3. Souse head cheese. Souse, sometimes called head cheese, was not cheese at all. It was a cold dish made from the scraps of a pig's head, ears, cheeks, snout, and skin. These parts were boiled until tender, chopped, and suspended in a vinegar-seasoned gelatin made from their own collagen. Once chilled, the mixture set into slices that could be eaten cold with crackers or bread. During the Depression, souse was a way to preserve meat without refrigeration and ensure no part of the animal was wasted. As tastes changed and convenience foods took over, souse became associated with poverty and was slowly forgotten. 4. Fried chicken, livers, and gizzards. Whole chickens were rare during the Depression, but organ meats were accessible. Chicken livers and gizzards were cheap, nutritious, and filling. Livers were soft and rich, while gizzards were tough but deeply flavorful when cooked properly. Families seasoned them, dredged them in cornmeal or flour, and fried them in bacon grease. This dinner delivered protein, iron, and calories at minimal cost. As modern consumers moved away from organ meats, this once common dinner faded from everyday life. 5. Brains and eggs. Brains and eggs was a practical, protein-heavy dinner that stretched a small number of eggs into a filling meal. Pork brains were inexpensive and cooked quickly. When scrambled with eggs, onions, and pepper, they created a creamy, custard-like dish. It may sound shocking today, but during the Depression, it was simply efficient nutrition. With changing food safety perceptions and the decline of organ meat consumption, this dish nearly vanished. 6. Smothered oxtails. Today oxtails are expensive, but during the Depression they were unwanted scraps. Black cooks transformed them by browning the tails, then simmering them low and slow with onions and water until the meat melted into a rich gravy. Served with rice or cornbread, smothered oxtails became a luxurious-tasting meal born entirely from necessity. As demand increased decades later, Oxtails left the category of survival food and entered mainstream popularity. 7. Possum and sweet potatoes. For rural families, hunting was sometimes the only source of protein. Possum stew, when properly cleaned and cooked, was a reliable food source. It was parboiled to remove excess fat, then roasted with sweet potatoes. The possum's fat basted the potatoes, creating a sweet and savory dish that felt abundant even in hard times. Urbanization and stigma pushed possum off the dinner table, making it one of the most forgotten Depression-era meals. 8. Kush cornmeal. Hash kush was a humble dish made from leftover cornbread. Instead of throwing it away, families crumbled the cornbread into a skillet with bacon drippings and a little water or broth. The mixture was fried into a thick, savory mash with crispy edges. Kush could be eaten alone or alongside vegetables. It was pure survival cooking: reuse, repurpose, and fill the stomach. With modern abundance and less home baking, kush disappeared. 9. Pot liquor soup with corn pone. After boiling greens like collards or turnips, the leftover liquid, known as pot liquor, was never discarded. This nutrient-rich broth was served as soup, often with a simple cornmeal dumpling or corn pone dropped in to soak it up. In some Depression households, pot liquor soup was the entire meal. As nutrition education changed and greens began to be cooked differently, pot liquor lost its central role. 10. Poke salad. Pokeweed grew wild and free, but it was poisonous unless prepared correctly. Black families passed down knowledge on how to safely boil the leaves multiple times to remove toxins. Once prepared, poke salad was fried with bacon grease or added to stews. It was free food that required skill and cultural knowledge. As foraging knowledge declined and grocery stores became widespread, poke salad vanished from most kitchens. 11. Cracklin' bread. Cracklin' bread was cornbread enriched with crispy pieces of fried pork skin. These cracklins added fat, salt, and texture, turning plain cornbread into a meal on its own. During the Depression, it was a way to add calories and flavor without extra cost. As home hog slaughter disappeared, so did cracklin' bread. 12. Fried green tomatoes. Unripe tomatoes were not wasted. Green tomatoes were sliced, dredged in cornmeal, and fried in bacon grease. Tart, crunchy, and filling, they often replaced meat on the plate. While fried green tomatoes survived as a Southern icon, their role as a survival dinner is largely forgotten. 13. Cornmeal mush. Fried mush. Cornmeal mush was made by boiling cornmeal in water until thick, then letting it cool and set. The loaf was sliced and fried, creating a crispy exterior and soft interior. It could be eaten savory with gravy or sweet with syrup. Cornmeal was cheap and reliable, making mush a cornerstone of Depression dinners. Today, it survives mainly as a breakfast food, not the dinner staple it once was. 14. Peanut soup. Inspired by agricultural science and George Washington Carver's advocacy for peanuts, peanut soup became a Depression-era staple. Crushed peanuts were cooked with onions, water, and seasoning into a creamy, protein-rich soup that required no dairy. It was filling, nutritious, and affordable. As food systems modernized, peanut soup became rare outside of historical or cultural contexts. 15. Hoe cakes. Hot water. Cornbread. Hoe cakes were made by mixing cornmeal with boiling water, shaping it into patties, and frying them in grease. The hot water changed the texture, creating a soft interior and crisp crust. Originally cooked on farm tools over open fires, hoe cakes were cheap, fast, and sustaining. As ovens and store-bought bread became standard, hoe cakes faded from dinner tables. Engagement question: which of these Great Depression dinners would you actually try today? And which one feels too far removed from modern taste? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Conclusion: these dinners were not created for comfort or luxury. They were created to keep families alive during one of the hardest periods in American history. They represent resilience, ingenuity, and cultural strength. By remembering these meals, we honor the people who cooked through hardship and pass down knowledge that still shapes American food today. If you learned something new, subscribe to The Lost Taste, like this video, and leave a comment sharing any survival meals from your own family history. This video is educational and reflects historical practices. It does not replace medical or nutritional advice. Stay curious, stay respectful, and join us in the next video as we continue uncovering the forgotten flavors of the past.